welcome everyone. I know you're coming from all over the world. We're super excited about this. It is our record-breaking number of registrations, and we hope this meets or exceeds your expectations. A lot of work has gone into it. This is the Smart Building Cybersecurity Symposium, as you probably know, so you know you're in the right place if that's what you came for. If this is your first time, CSA, the Control Systems Cybersecurity Association International, it's a mouthful. We just call it CSA for short. It is a 501c6, started in the United States, but it's global, certainly in scope now. And the problems we've certainly discovered or confirmed through our research is these are global problems. They're ubiquitous wherever you go. But we're a nonprofit, and our mission is to support and help develop the workforce focused on cybersecurity for control-related systems, whether those be oil refineries or manufacturing facilities or healthcare systems or building control systems or anything like that, where there are engineered networks with pumps and valves and actuators and all the things that make them different, managed by different people with different constraints and things like safety, things that traditional IT networks just don't have to worry about. And we know that that's a special set of conditions and it's a special workforce. And so our goal is to support that and help grow that workforce. We don't have enough people, as is probably no surprise to many of you. We are, as a nonprofit, our number one way that we are funded to operate and create programming like this is through the generous support of our strategic alliance partners. I'm excited to announce today we are launching the 2021 KPMG CSA annual survey. This is a big project for us. The annual report came out in November last year based on the survey that we'd done the year before that. And so this is the next part of that process. It is available. The number one place you can find it, even though we will list it in different places, but all of May, from now and all the way through May, you'll find it at the very top of CSA.org. And we would love for everybody to take this. So here is the agenda. I'm not going to read it all off. You've seen it online. There's very little alteration to it, other than just to remind you a little bit of flow. And so there'll be some scenarios and sections that Andy will take us through, and then we'll do maybe a poll and kind of a sponsor shout out and give some prizes away as a break. And so you can get a bio break in there or get a cup of coffee or something if you need. We tried to bring those in there just to make sure people didn't feel stuck all day long. But we'll keep things moving at a clip. And the episodes are, kind of the big new creative approach. This will be like watching various TV episodes, and a couple of them have some length to them. And Andy will guide you on how long those are, but they're not, they're not a couple minutes. Some of them are longer, like we would sit down and watch an interesting show. So hopefully you like it. And I think at this point we are ready to go.
Cybercrime will cost the world $6 trillion by 2021. By 2021, a business will fall victim to ransomware every 11 seconds. The cost of a data breach will reach $150 million by 2020. In 2023 alone, cybercriminals will steal 33 billion records. Americans lose $15 billion annually due to identity theft. It takes 196 days on average to identify a data breach. In 2020, the rate of attacks on building control systems increased by over 600%. This year, the rate is expected to almost double. Are you ready?
started when I was young, and I worked with computers and started playing with them, and learned very quickly that I really liked working with computers, and I liked breaking, different pieces of code, and eventually I realized there was a lot of money to be made in it. I wouldn't say an obsession, but I do get the same kind of thrill that I get from, any kind of sport or something that gives you, that sense of accomplishment. It's more of a rush. You get a rush from it. Well, yeah, I mean, back way before the internet became what it is today, and when we were working with, early technologies, yes, the networks was where everything was at. So, early networks was an easy place to hide and an easy place to actually get used to hacking into things. And so, yeah, it was an interesting place to play. So things have changed. I mean, you can say they're harder, but it's really just using different mechanisms to gain access. And it used to be that you could find a vulnerability directly on the internet easily and get in. Today, you have to leverage people, or you have to leverage less known technologies that have vulnerabilities. Back in, I'd say, the 2010 time frame was when there were a lot of vulnerabilities that were popping up in control systems, and what we realized was there's actually ways to get into corporate networks or into whatever targets we're going after through those control systems. And at the time, there was about 50,000 of those systems on the internet, so there was a lot of different opportunities. So it's pretty simple. You go through a standard search, or you can use Google to find some things, or you can use things like Shodan to find others. But there's a lot of different ways to take a look. You also have to realize that depending on who you're targeting and what type of access you're going after, you may look at their third-party vendors or a building systems vendors. It's not always about who's in the building. You sometimes find other avenues. So sometimes it's about getting a trusted person that's going to take you in there and not know it. The normal way we start is we start by learning about who the people are, who are we targeting, and it really depends on what it is that we're after. If it's a targeted approach, then we'll do that. Sometimes it's just shooting it out there to anybody who's going to click and get access, but typically it'll be targeted, and we're actually picking organizations that we would like to gain access to for one reason or another. And we'll do a recon session where we will actually go look at who's on LinkedIn, who's on Facebook, figure out the things they like, figure out how a phishing attack might be structured, and then figure out the Shodan angles as well. Do they have things on the internet that we can go after? Really looking to make a plan of how we're going to approach that. So in one instance, we were looking at an organization. Their network was pretty well secured. They had the newest technologies, and so we looked at different ways that we could actually approach getting access to their network and learning what they knew. And as part of that, we realized that their building integrator had actually left a building control system on the internet. And we were able to find that, get access to that. So then we were in some of the software in their building. And we were then able to use that access to gain access to their corporate network, and from there basically gather all the data that we wanted to get and deploy ransomware and work through that situation. But so one of the reasons that we like the control system network is that it's actually an easy place to hang out and quiet. They oftentimes don't have any kind of monitoring, network level monitoring, or any kind of antivirus on the machines that are used in that environment. So it's pretty easy to get installed and sit there and monitor. Plus, a lot of times it has admin level privileges to other parts of the network, so it makes it easier for access into other areas as well. Once we understand how an integrator works and we understand their customer base, and we've figured out some of their information, we find a lot of them use the same password. So a lot of them, it'll actually be something, once we gain access to one of their customers, we can gain access to all of their customers. And it's a common practice that they have. Once I'm in the network and I can find the engineering workstation, the rest of it's easy, because the engineering workstations have access to all the different files that we're going to want, and most of the time they have access to the Excel spreadsheet that has all the passwords and IP addresses for the devices in their network that are critical. So that engineering workstation usually gets us everything that we need to know about their system. That is the first place I'm going. I want to live where the people with the knowledge live. The key, once you're in the network, though, is to make sure that you're quiet. Once you're in the network, you can actually look for systems and figure out what kind of value they may have. And that's where the ransomware comes in. Sometimes they've got a valuable network. Sometimes you just go based off of what their organization's worth, what their annual revenue is. Other times you find things in there that are much more interesting. So it could be a warehouse, or it could be something where you can actually have ransom, and it is more meaningful because it impacts the business. And in those situations, that's when it's most lucrative. That's when you can actually have a ransom be successful. Oh, of course it's fun. I mean, it's something that you get a thrill out of doing to some extent. But I like my job. I get to do fun things on a daily basis, and it makes me happy. But it's not a personal thing for me. It's just work.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Schonberger, VP Client Services at Intelligent Buildings. Had a nice soft intro there from Derek. Thanks, Derek. I think you could tell by that image he showed you. I'm a Canadian, so I'm going to inject some Canadian humor and stereotypes, I think, into my role here as your master of ceremonies or your host. And pretty interesting, I think, some of the parallels between tending a goal like you saw in that picture in our industry, and for a lot of the hackers like you just saw on this first video, there really is a goal. There's a lot of data to mine in these buildings, and there's a business opportunity to be exploited. And I think one of our goals in this format today is to give you some examples of how we can really get some armor on you and get you to be that goalie in front of the net. We really want to get you skilled up on what can happen, and really a little bit embarrassing, I would say, on how this goal is almost being left undefended in industry right now. So we've got a really interesting format here to go with you, with some various some episodes of varying lengths, anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes, where we have some real subject matter experts that you saw Derek introduce, at least at a high level, who they are, and they're playing some roles here, and they're doing that on purpose so that we can have them share some best practices and not expose a particular client or a particular end user or a particular vendor or maybe somebody else who's really learned something as a result of an event. So that first episode really was an interview with a nefarious actor, right, showing how someone really does want to get access to a building, and a lot of cases those building systems or vendors or data is really easy prey compared to many enterprise, defended IT environments, those that, have a goalie in the net. So we figured we'd get you started with a little bit of that doom and gloom and a little bit of stereotypes around, a hacker, if you will. And the person playing the role of the hacker here was Terry McCorkle. Terry is actually an ethical hacker. So he has a lot of the skills that he talked about here, but he's using those skills for good. And these ethical hackers can be really critical in helping with training efforts and really setting up rules of engagement so that we can educate users and vendors and system owners and all the stakeholders in the smart building ecosystem, if you will, about what could happen if they were a target. So Terry's got a unique skill set, I think, that not a ton of people in this industry do, about really being able to put themselves inside the shoes of those folks really trying to crack open these buildings for not really good motives, I'd say. So Terry has 20 years of experience in this, serving a broad range of technical, analytical, and leadership roles. Obviously, you saw a passion for IT and OT and solving some of these complex challenges. He's got a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology from Capella University and several cybersecurity certifications. He serves currently as the CEO and founder of FishCloud, focused on making cybersecurity simple for people and security teams that support them. So all of our speakers today are playing roles, I'd say, in real life scenarios that we've modified really to protect the identities of parties involved. But these are materially real, so we want you to be able to learn from them. And in each of these scenarios, we've got an industry expert, like I've mentioned, playing a familiar role to them based on their roles in the built environment, I'll say. So we have 4 of those episodes coming to share with you across a couple of segments of the symposium here. And so my role in each time will be to do a little bit of a recap after each one, some so what lessons learned, make sure you know who the speaker is, and tee up the next one, and really provide some of that flow. I'll try not to add too many dad jokes. This is a bit of an interesting format for me. I'm used to being able to burn off a little bit of nervous energy and pacing across the stage in front of folks. So a little unique here. Hopefully my kids who are in virtual school on the other side of the wall here don't interrupt us, but we'll see how it goes. So next up, we're going to tee up the next scenario here. We've got Casey O'Connor, who's a senior consultant at Intelligent Buildings. And Casey really specializes in aligning customer strategies with constructability. He's worked on systems integration roles at IB and in his previous life at Honeywell. He's done large towers and deployed solutions like fault detection diagnostics, and really helped deploy mission critical systems like the fire alarm system at BWI Airport. And he's assisted in design and implementation of large scopes of services for new energy codes in previous work that, across a portfolio of about 3,000 homes. So, Casey understands scale and scope. So really interesting to see his perspective and see him slide into this role here, where he's setting up a scenario where a building takes a significant amount of time to recover from an event that's we're seeing happen all too often. So this segment goes into some good depth over the next 25 minutes, and let's let Casey take it away in his role here.